Hi, my name is Gustavo. This is exercise 10, and I'll be talking about the end of World War II and the nations after it. At the end of World War II in 1945, the victorious nations, United States, the Soviet Union, the United Kingdom, and France, emerged as dominant powers in shaping of the new world geopolitical order. The United States and the Soviet Union, in particular, stood out as the two superpowers, making the beginning of a new era of international relationships. Bipolarity in the context of World War refers to the dominance of two opposing superpowers, the United States representing democratic capitalism and the Soviet Union representing communism. After World War II, both nations had a significant military and ideological influence over the global affairs, but their visions for the post-war world were fundamentally different. The United States promoted democracy, free markets, and capitalism, aligning with Western European nations through alliances like the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which was established in 1949 to provide collective security against Soviet aggressions. The Soviet Union, under Joseph Stalin's leadership, promoted the expansion of communism and sought to protect its borders by establishing a buffer of satellite states in Eastern Europe. These nations were aligned with the USSR through the Warsaw Pact, created in 1955, which was a collective defense treaty that rivaled the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. The conflict between these superpowers never escalated into directly military confrontation, but instead manifested in a Cold War between 1947 and 1991, involving nuclear arms races, ideological struggles, and proxy wars in various regions such as Korea and Vietnam. The global order became polarized in two spheres of influence, with much of the world either aligning with the US or the Soviet Union, or attempting to remain neutral in movements like the Non-Aligned Movement. The D-Day invasion, which occurred on June 6 in 1944, was one of the most significant military operations of World War II. Officially known as Operation Overlord, it was the Allied invasion of Nazi-occupied France. The landings took place on the beaches of Normandy, in northern France, and involved the United States, the United Kingdom, and Canadian forces. This operation marked the beginning of the end of Nazi Germany, as it opened a new front in Western Europe, forcing the Germans to fight a war on multiple fronts. D-Day is often seen as the decisive turning point in the war. Collapse of Nazi Germany. Nazi Germany collapsed on May 8 in 1945. This came after the relentless advance of Allied forces from the west and Soviet forces from the east. Berlin fell to the Red Army, and Adolf Hitler committed suicide on April 30 in 1945. The official surrender of Germany was signed in Berlin, bringing an end to the European conflict. Japan and United States post-Germany's collapse. While the war in Europe ended in May 1945, the conflict with Japan continued in the Pacific. The United States having fought a brutal island-hopping campaign to defeat Japan. So to bring the war to a swift end, President Harry S. Truman decided to use nuclear weapons against Japan. On August 6 in 1945, the US dropped an atomic bomb on Hiroshima, and 3 days later, on August 9, a second bomb was dropped in Nagasaki. The devastation caused by these bombings, combined with the Soviet Union's declaration of war against Japan, led to Japan's surrender on August 15 in 1945. Following Japan's surrenders, the US occupied Japan, leading to significant political, social, and economic reforms under General Douglas MacArthur's supervisions. The US aimed to transform Japan into a peaceful democratic nation. This occupation lasted until 1952, after which Japan emerged as a close ally of the US and experienced rapid economic growth in the following decades. ¿Cómo defines el capitalismo y el comunismo?
Bueno, estos dos son dos sistemas económicos. En el capitalismo se basa en el esfuerzo individual de las personas, en el cual van creciendo en su desarrollo intelectual y económico en base a los esfuerzos que realizan. Ese sistema premia los esfuerzos que realizan las personas dentro de la sociedad y en función a eso, pues entre mayores sean los esfuerzos, las personas tienen mejores resultados. En cambio, el comunismo lo regula el Estado y busca que las personas, independientemente del esfuerzo que realicen, aspiren a las mismas condiciones económicas y sociales. Algunos pueden estar a favor del capitalismo o del comunismo, sin embargo, cada uno tiene sus ventajas y sus características. En la actualidad, el capitalismo es el que prevalece en las mayores economías del mundo y cada vez se ve más con menos ventajas el comunismo, dado que limita el desarrollo de las personas en base a sus esfuerzos.
As a final conclusion, I think that the Second World War was a very important event in the history of humanity, and it's part of our history as civilization. Thanks to it, the Cold War emerged, with which the world evolved and gave a drastic change to become the world we have today with technology and different thinking and points of view.